Hello, it's live at 12:45 with Kristen Bomas. I'm Kristen, and I want to thank you for joining me today. We are going to talk about emotional support animals and what they are used for and how they're different from therapy animals and service animals. So we'll start with the difference. The difference between an emotional support animal and a therapy animal is that the therapy animal is the dog that we see more often than not taken into hospitals and assisted living for people to pet them and to feel a little bit of temporary therapy from those dogs. An emotional support animal, on the other hand, is an animal that is prescribed by a professional physician or psychologist or psychotherapist to allow a person to live more comfortably with a challenge. That might be post-traumatic stress disorder, it might be anxiety, it might be depression, it might be something different, but the animal is actually living with them, traveling with them, and giving them support so that they can function okay. In fact, go beyond that. A lot of times it's the healing. We're going to talk about that in the second half. The third type of animal that is out there is a service animal. And a service animal is very specific. It could be a dog that we train if you're blind or if you're deaf. It could be an animal that we train. Usually it's a dog. It could be an animal that we train to actually read the manic phase of a bipolar disorder. It can even read diabetic issues so that a person doesn't go into ketosis. We use an actual service dog that is trained to actually read what a human being can't read on their own. So there's no sound. Is there no sound? Mickey, can you hear us? I'm getting no response. Okay. Can you hear me okay now? Good. And can you hear me now? I feel like I'm doing an AT&T commercial. Valentina, Mickey says yes. Valentina, can you hear? Okay, let's move forward here. Thank you. Thank you, Mickey, very, very, very much. Okay, so let's go back. Apparently there was no sound at the beginning, and so let me just quickly reiterate. The emotional support animal is an animal that is there for the emotional support of an individual struggling with any sort of comfort, safety issues, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress issue, but the animal that is their emotional support animal is there to give that person a sense of security, safety, confidence, and ability to move through life with greater comfortability. And so that's the emotional support animal. The therapy animal is that animal that very often we see going into hospitals or nursing homes and or assisted living, that kind of a facility. And the people who are in those treatment facilities are able to pet the dogs or the animal and spend time with it. And it's the time they spend with that animal that allows them to feel a little bit of therapy and reprieve from the stress of their life otherwise inside the facility. The service animals are very different altogether. They are specifically trained to aid a person with a specific, we're going to call it handicap. Maybe they can't see, they can't hear, so you can have the seeing eye dogs, whatever. But also, if there is someone who is bipolar, they actually can read the manic phase prior to going into a manic phase so that the person's medication is taken. They can actually remind the person to take their medication. Same with diabetes and other physical ailments as well. So the service animal is a highly trained animal used to actually service the human being given one of those, we're going to call it a handicap for lack of a better word. All of those animals are covered by the American Disabilities Act. So if you do have an emotional support animal and it has been prescribed, and it needs to be prescribed by a professional, whether that's a physician or a psychotherapist or psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, it needs to be a qualified professional who is willing to say that this emotional support animal is going to help you heal. The emotional support animals that I prescribe have shown fantastic support and healing to the individuals who partner with them. They are animals that need to be basically trained. They have to be socialized. That is not an ADA regulation. That is, quite frankly, something that I suggest to all of my clients who I prescribe the animal to. because they want that animal to be able to keep them feeling safe in various environments outside the home, the dog or animal, cat, bird, whatever it tends to be, needs to be socialized. If it's going to go on a plane with you, which is perfectly okay, it needs to be capable of sitting still, listening to your basic commands, and being friendly with people and dogs around them, because there will be other animals around them, more than likely. So the service animal, it's up to you to be the responsible owner. It's up to you to make sure that that animal has the basic commands necessary for that animal to be next to you 100% of the time. So think about a child. You know, we watch parents with their children, and their toddler children are constantly trying to run away and touch things and do things they shouldn't do because they're not quite socialized, and you look at the exhaustion of the parent trying to take care of the child. That is not what you want in an emotional support animal, and in my world, that's not truly an emotional support animal, because it's stressing you out when you have to keep track of it like that. The emotional support animal, from a Christian definition, needs to have the basic commands and socialization, period. Done. Okay, what have I seen them do? This is where the magic is, because I have watched emotional support animals turn people's lives around, and it is the most wonderful thing in the world to see. I've watched people who really isolate and stay back come into a more social realm. I've watched anxiety subside. I've watched depression lift. I've watched people who were not doing any of their daily living tasks start to do their daily living tasks. I've watched students start to make the grades and start to socialize with peers. I've watched people get back into the workplace, move beyond a disability that they were using that they could not function to get back into life, and they move beyond that disability, whatever it may be. That's my little world, and what I have seen happen with ESA animals. And so I do recommend them, and I do prescribe them for the person who needs them. And when it's necessary, I see great magic occur. So the ESA animal, I want everybody to keep your eyes, your ears, and your heart open. We don't want to see this go away. You are protected by the American Disabilities Act and HUD. You are allowed to have your emotional support animal wherever it is you live and whatever it is you do. It is a service animal in general definition. People are not allowed to ask you for letters outside of the airlines. They are to understand that this is your animal of disability. You are not required to put a vest on it, but I think it's an easy way to communicate that the dog is not to be approached or treated like a dog. An emotional support animal is not a pet. So if your rules say no pets, it is not a pet. It is not a dog. It is an animal. It's not a cat. It is an animal. It is an ESA. It is considered by federal law to be something very different. And so I take that very seriously, and so do the owners of the ESA animals that I have prescribed. So I wanted to give you guys all a chance to understand the difference today and to start to think about what you can do to work with people who you see in public environments who are with their ESA. What is that animal for them? Help them feel confident. Help them feel comfortable. Help them feel safe. Let them know that this is a world of acceptance, right? Let's not constantly get into, does that person really need it? They look fine to me. And those judgments are just increasing the depression and the anxiety of a person who very well may need it. Doesn't mean that there aren't people taking full advantage of the situation. But hey, what a beautiful world if all the animals and people could live together as one. So I ask all of you to really be aware. If you know someone who you really feel needs some support in their life, don't hesitate to suggest. But definitely, let's keep our eyes, our ears, and our hearts wide open for those who need. Thank you. Have a great day, and may all of you feel great confidence and comfort as you go forward throughout your lives. Thank you for joining me. On Monday, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the Hispanic community because it is Hispanic Heritage Month. And I will be having a guest joining me on that day to talk about what it's like to be of Hispanic descent and in this country. So we'll be talking about that. So I'll be posting a question about that for everybody to participate in. And don't hesitate to join me on my YouTube channel where my podcasts and Christianisms are located. And please subscribe. Thank you for sharing my videos, and thank you for being with me. Ken, Tina, Mickey, Valentina, all of you. Thank you so very much. See you later.